Representative-elect Grijalva and the people of Arizona who continue to not have their voices heard, even though we're now 24 days into her election, having also been certified. I'm frustrated for the American people in that we have seen no action in almost a month to lower the cost of living crisis that is absolutely crushing hardworking Americans. Speaker Johnson continues to move the goalposts on whether or not he will swear in Representative-elect Grijalva and under what circumstances. It must be hard at this point to keep track of the lies. So again, I'm frustrated. I just tried to seek recognition under this pro forma, as has happened in the past, to instruct the speaker to swear in Representative-elect Grijalva at our next meeting. But again, we took all of August off. Congress has been absent here in the House for almost a month when there are critical conversations that need to be happening about reopening the government, lowering the cost of health care for millions of Americans, and also moving forward on critical issues, whether it's the Epstein files or the cost of living crisis that's out there. So we can and we should be working. It's really disappointing, but happy to take any questions you all might have.
Is it your expectation that the Arizona Attorney General will now file suit against the Speaker?
I certainly hope so. I know that Leader Jeffries has also today mentioned that he is exploring legal options. And this is a point where Speaker Johnson is not following his own standard. There were two members from Florida who were sworn in the day after their election during a pro forma session. A Democratic representative from Virginia was sworn in the day after. And Speaker Johnson has different goalposts. They constantly move. First it was, I'm happy to do it. Then it was, her family should be here. Then it was, whatever the reason, she wants the pomp and circumstance. And so I know that Representative-elect Grijalva has this message. Our teams have been communicating. She is ready to get to work for her people back home. She's ready to get to work for Americans. And I really expect the Speaker to put her into her office as quickly as possible. At this point, you have to ask the question of why? Why is the Speaker not swearing in Representative-elect Grijalva? Is it to protect child sexual predators? Is it because she's a woman of color? Like, what is the reason the Speaker has? What's the retribution? What's the reason you're doing this against one of our hopefully soon-to-be colleagues?
Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing during this shutdown, because being a member of Congress is more than just voting to serve your constituents that Representative-elect Grijalva can't because she's not only a member.
Yeah, so I represent tens of thousands of federal employees in Maryland, and like my colleagues across Maryland and Virginia, we are hearing from countless federal workers who are under siege by this Trump administration, who are weaponizing the federal government against the American people. We're seeing threats of withholding pay, even though we know that President Trump himself signed the legislation that guaranteed back pay for federal workers who were furloughed. We're seeing Russ Vought and the president go after federal employees and try to fire them, even though, fortunately, we had a judge rule recently that those firings were illegal and put in a temporary injunction. That judge's ruling basically talked about the ways in which it seems like this administration doesn't believe the rule of law applies to them. The Trump administration themselves could not defend the legal basis for those firings. And I have to say, I have a bill that we could vote on if Speaker Johnson would let us come back to work that would stop firings of all federal employees under shutdowns. I have over 70 co-sponsors. Unfortunately, not one of those co-sponsors are Republicans. So doing legislative work, talking to constituents, unfortunately, things were tough before because of all the DOGE cuts and other reductions in forces that were done prior to the shutdown. Agencies were already struggling to keep up, and at this point, a lot of agencies aren't helping our constituents with other needs. So this is affecting not just federal workers who are struggling to make ends meet and pay their bills. This is affecting Americans across the country.
You used to teach high school government to students. What do you say about the precedent this sets for other speakers to say, you know what, the time isn't quite right to swear someone in?
Well, I mean, that's the problem, right? That's the precedent we're setting, is that under whatever rules I make up along the way, I can take as long as I want to swear in a member of Congress. And that's just wrong. That's undemocratic. It's un-American. And Speaker Johnson would fail my American government class by his actions here with Representative-elect Grijalva. This is wrong. He needs to swear her in immediately.
What's your response to Speaker Johnson and other Republicans who say they're following the precedent that was used with Republican Congresswoman Julia Letlow, who in 2021 won her special election in March and wasn't sworn until April?
Well, I would say it reinforces the point that this is the third or fourth different goalpost that Speaker Johnson is using. But on that specific point, I would say that in that case, I understand that representative actually worked with then Speaker Pelosi to set that specific date. And even if you set that aside, tomorrow is day 25. So even if Speaker Johnson doesn't want to follow his own precedent, of swearing in members the next day, which he did in the case of 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat, tomorrow should be the day. So the next time we meet, there should be absolutely no excuse. The election's been certified. It's been the Pelosi standard that Speaker Johnson is now using as his 3rd or 4th excuse to swear in Representative-elect Grijalva.
Speaker Johnson also said today that Congresswoman-elect Grijalva has the keys to her office and she can go ahead and start working now. What's your response to that?
Well, first of all, thank goodness. What took you so long, Speaker Johnson, to give her the keys to her office? But how about actually giving her the capacity to talk to an agency as a member of Congress and say, this is Congresswoman Grijalva calling on behalf of my constituents? How about ensuring she's sworn in so that her staff can have access to the passcodes to actually get into their computers to respond to email, to have the passcodes to actually pick up the phones? I mean, there are 800,000 people in Arizona who are relying on her to represent them, especially amidst this crisis and this shutdown. So I would say let's swear her in. It's a very easy solution. Again, the clearest reason for me is that she represents the final signature on the Epstein files that would force the vote. And for the life of me, I can't understand why Speaker Johnson or Republicans would want to protect child sexual predators and pedophiles. I do applaud those few Republicans who have signed on to the discharge petition. I want to applaud my colleagues like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I can't believe I'm saying I would agree with her on something, but mark this day in history. She agrees that there's a healthcare crisis and that we can open up the government. The Senate, I believe, has now taken almost 10 votes to do just that.
On the shutdown more broadly, Leader Thune is floating a bill that would pay essential federal workers, the people who are coming to work during the shutdown. Speaker Johnson said that if it doesn't, fail in the Senate, if it actually gets through, he might be open to that. Would that be something, as folks are trying to figure out how to fund the government, that you might support?
Look, I'm a Democrat, and I'll just speak for this Democrat. I'm open for anything, right? But the problem is we have to be in a room talking to each other to actually forge a compromise. That is literally how we find consensus, is we sit down together and we have a conversation. And so President Trump has been completely absent from those conversations except for one very quick White House meeting. Speaker Johnson won't even allow us to do our jobs to address not just the government shutdown, but the cost of living crisis. It's been almost 300 days we've been in session. We haven't taken one vote to lower costs for hardworking Americans. In fact, we've done only the opposite with tariffs and energy increases. So I would say we can solve these problems. We can talk about all of these issues, but we should come together and actually be in a room so we can end this crisis and get this government reopened. All right, very good. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Steph, I think
Thank
Ben
you.
wants to talk.